Another team that was quite impressive on Saturday was Indiana, who absolutely destroyed Illinois on Saturday night, 63-10, the final score. Number 19 Indiana handing number 9 Illinois their first loss of the season. Let's go over the highest graded players, starting off with the Indiana Hoosiers. Their highest graded player was a guy who was a top 5 receiver for us entering the year, Elijah Surratt, 84.4. Mario Landino, the D tackle, 83.8. Lewis Moore, the safety, 80.7. Tyreek Tucker, the D tackle, 79.9. Another wide receiver here, and Omar Cooper Jr., 74.9. And Fernando Mendoza with a very impressive game, 83.2 grade in the victory. Let's go over to Illinois with their highest graded players in the loss. You got linebacker Dylan Rosiek, 84.2 grade. Offensive tackle J.C. Davis, 68.5. Kurt Neal, defensive tackle, 68.3. Torrey Cox Jr., the cornerback, 68.3 as well. Alec Bryant, the edge rusher, 67.7. And Luke Altmaier with only a 41.8 grade in the loss for Illinois. Dalton, what told the story in this just shellacking from Indiana?
Obviously the old saying, don't judge a book by its cover. You can judge this book by its cover. I don't even have an in-depth stat. My stat really is that the score was 63-10. And after the first quarter, this looked like a game that was 63-10. Really, Illinois had one ray of hope all night with the one long touchdown they scored on a blown coverage in the first quarter. Other than that, Indiana made the biggest statement they possibly could have here. It's just unbelievable how Curt Cignetti they roll this thing back and everybody questions, okay, this is a fluke. They played a soft schedule. They lost to Ohio State and Notre Dame, who, again, were the two teams playing in the national title game. So if you're ripping that as their only 2 losses, find me somebody else last year who's going to beat Ohio State and or Notre Dame.
And that Indiana-Notre Dame game, first round game, was easily the closest game that we got in the first round.
Right. And they brought back so much talent, especially on this defense. You look at this game. This reminded me a lot of remember last year when Indiana was playing Nebraska? And it was built up to be this even game because at the time we thought it was. Indiana hadn't played a great team yet, and Nebraska was kind of rolling a little bit. And it was this 50-50 game, and we didn't know and then Indiana won 56-7.
Yeah.
This team's a wagon. This is the same type feel. They have announced themselves again as a playoff contender in a very, very loud way. I think the first 3 weeks it kind of was taking them a bit to just get Mendoza, especially in the first game, in the rhythm of this offense. But the quick timing for Mendoza, his ability to run this system. Look, NFL scouts, we can argue about things later on all you want throughout the spring. He was always going to be a great fit in this system because of the quick release and the RPOs and the ability of Mike Shanahan to beat any coverage in front of him with that. And they can run the football well. They did everything in this game well. 87.2 offensive grade, 84.6 defensive grade. How many superstar plays do we need on defense? Aiden Fisher, Isaiah Jones, D'Angelo Pons with the block punt and return for a touchdown that just flipped this game, in Indiana's favor early. This team, you want a crazy stat? Last year, Indiana was the highest graded team in the country. Right now, they're the highest graded team in the country. They have an overall team grade of 99.5. They're just really, they are that good. This is not Cinderella. This is not a fluke. Curt Cignetti's an elite coach. They have an elite amount of talent on both sides of the ball on this team. Any day that they pass protect, they're going to do this to teams. That's about the only thing to me. And they brought in a couple of offensive linemen in the transfer portal. I know they talked a lot on the broadcast last night about Pat Coogan, the center that came over from Notre Dame. This team, now you sit here and wonder, you go, they're going to mess around and beat Oregon? They're going to mess around and beat Penn State? They're going to mess around and go to the Big Ten title game and maybe give themselves a shot to win it? Because we never felt like that last year, right? They were winning all these games, and it was a softer schedule. This right here against Illinois, and you may not believe they're the 9th best team in the country, and they're probably not, right? But that's still the 9th ranked team in the country. They just beat 63-10.
Yeah. And
they beat them in all 3 phases like they were just one of these other teams on the schedule, like they were Indiana State or somebody. Indiana's here to stay. As long as Curt Cignetti's there, they're here to stay. They're a playoff contender.
I love this comment from Vandy Dandy in the chat. By the way, Vanderbilt, big win for the Commodores as well.
Another one.
Past
They're
weekend.
on fire.
They're on fire. But he goes, teams that didn't get their flowers preseason are forcibly taking them right now.
Yes.
Indiana is forcibly taking their flowers right now, and deservingly so, because you're right. That's a great comparison to the Nebraska game last year, because I remember last year on this show, we were like, okay, Indiana is rolling teams right now, but they played nobody. This Nebraska game is their first true test. Dalton, they killed them. They killed them in that game. Same thing this year. And you know, we both picked Illinois, hand up. We both picked Illinois to win this game, so we were dead wrong about it, but you and I were both like, hey, this is the first real game for Indiana. What do they look like? And they came out and once again shellacked Illinois in this one too. I'm so impressed. I love your stat is just literally the score of the game.
I tried to find one that explains it, and there isn't just one. When you beat a team this badly in all three phases, Curt Cignetti and I'm sure, knowing who Curt Cignetti is, he's going to find the 3 or 4 errors they made in this game and go, guys, if we don't fix these, we're not winning a national title or something like that. And that's the mentality you got to have, right? I mean, he's going to go into this week, next week against Iowa, at Iowa. It's another big game. So they only got 1 loss on the record. They've got the best offensive line in the country right now. I'll talk about that later. He's not going to take anything for granted here, Curt Cignetti, and this team is not going to take anything for granted. They got a taste of what success is last year, getting into the playoff. They are undoubtedly, if they don't make the playoff, they're undoubtedly right now one of at least the 15 best teams in the country, if not better.
Yeah, I have them in top 15. We'll get to that later on in the show. But Indiana, my stat is the EPA per play difference. Indiana, 0.482 EPA per play. Illinois, negative 0.432 EPA per play. Indiana had 586 yards of total offense. Illinois, 161. 88.2 offensive grade for Indiana. 53.1 for Illinois. 84.2 defensive grade for Indiana. 59.3 defensive grade for Illinois. This, by all accounts, was a good old-fashioned ass-whooping by Indiana over Illinois. Illinois was outplayed and outcoached by leaps and bounds in this game. And Dalton, I want to get into 2 guys right now that we both have as the most impressive, Mike Shanahan and Fernando Mendoza, because in my preview, I had the Indiana offense in the preview, and I said, okay, Mendoza against an aggressive defense in Illinois with man coverage, a ton of man coverage, and the highest blitz rate in the country, how is he going to handle that? And I thought he and Mike Shanahan, the offensive coordinator, a perfect game plan by Mike Shanahan and a perfect execution of that game plan by Fernando Mendoza, just getting rid of the football quickly. His average time to throw was 2.25 seconds, and just a lot of man coverage beaters. They knew exactly the type of defense they were going against in this game, and they had the perfect game plan to beat them.
A masterclass from Shanahan. It really was. Makes you think of another Mike Shanahan, doesn't it? But, I mean, you really look at what this offense is and the marriage between Mendoza and Shanahan. He is already as much in lockstep with Shanahan as Curtis Rourke was last year, maybe even more so, because Mendoza's got a quicker release and he's a little more athletic than Rourke is. And you look at Mendoza, when it's the RPO game, when it's a certain design touch that's supposed to go to a certain place, or there was man beaters underneath the line of scrimmage, especially that were working all night, because Illinois is coming out in that base cover one about 80% of the time. I just think Mendoza now has control of this offense. Again, we can debate the draft stuff later. I really don't care at the moment. This is the college football show. 21-23. 267, 5 touchdowns, and only 1 big-time throw, right? I talked a lot about how the intermediate throws were actually going to be the best part of Mendoza's game in this offense. The RPOs, the play action, and you mentioned it. Average time to throw, 2.25 seconds. If there's anything that Fernando Mendoza is, he is decisive. And in this offense, you need to be decisive, because so much of it is about timing, is about that quick release, is about controlling things with the RPO game. Mendoza was fantastic. Shanahan was fantastic as a play caller. This offense is absolutely rolling. And let's not forget the defense. You mentioned 161 total yards for Illinois. 59 of them came on that touchdown in the first quarter, on the only touchdown they scored all night. So the rest of the night, they had 100 yards. I mean, just what Indiana has, the amount of talent they have, and it continues to be underrated talent. This is NFL-type talent on both sides of the ball. This team's an absolute problem for anybody they play, even the elite teams in college football. When they get to play Oregon and when they get to play Penn State, now that we've seen this, they've absolutely got chances to win those games, even on the road.
They absolutely do. Yeah, I thought it was a great game plan by the defense, too, just getting after Luke Allmeyer. They had him under pressure all game. And honestly, this is another game, too, where Indiana doesn't really blitz quarterbacks that much. They play a ton of zone coverage. I think one of the highest, if not the highest, zone coverage rate in college football, and they had no answers offensively. Illinois did to beat them too. So the defensive line for Illinois, or Indiana, I should say, was outstanding, and they took down Illinois in this one too. And Mike Shanahan, I just was so impressed because I thought it was a matchup that could give Indiana problems, and I was dead wrong about it because of how good Mendoza was of executing the game plan and how good Mike Shanahan's game plan was. He knew exactly the defense was going against, and Illinois, they live by the sword, they die by the sword. That aggressive defense really helps them win a lot of ball games, but in this kind of game too, they don't have any other answers. They're not going to go back to playing a lot of zone coverage or anything like that. They are a team that's going to play a ton of man coverage and blitz quarterbacks, and if it doesn't work, you get scores like this, and that's why Indiana won this game 63-10. They knew exactly the type of team they were going against, and then the perfect game plan and perfect execution of that game plan to beat a team by 53 points, a top 10 team in the country. So really impressive win by Indiana, and now they're going to move up a lot in the top 25 later on in the show.